So be prepared to put your color wheel to the side and ignore generic color combinations, because these methods are pretty advanced. Today we're going to explore 3 different clever ways to generate color combinations that work wonders on graphic design projects. The first method is where color palettes are generated based on analogies or associations with concepts, ideas, or other elements. That might sound confusing, but it really isn't, and this method is very useful when you want to evoke specific emotions, a theme, a symbolic meaning through color. And I'm going to walk you through each method step by step on an actual design project so you really understand how they work. So let's say you are tasked with creating the artwork for a website based around mental health awareness, or even to design the website itself. But of course, these 3 methods do actually work on pretty much any design project. Color Analogies method requires that we first pick out emotions to target. And for this website here, the desired emotion is empathy and support. You will probably decide that the website should evoke feelings of peace, comfort, and hope for visitors seeking mental health resources and information. And once you have that research, we then look at how colors are typically associated with the emotions of peace, comfort, and hope. And soon we are actually going to flip things on their head. But in this context, warmer soft colors like soothing blues and gentle pastels are often linked to comfort and understanding, while shades of green can represent growth, renewal, and hope. Of course, this is just an example, but we do go deeper into this. And at this stage, it's best to start experimenting with those color palettes. So begin by selecting a base color. In this case, you might choose a soft, comforting blue as it signifies empathy and understanding. Then, complement this with pastel shades like light lavender or soft pink to represent comfort and compassion. Now these colors can be used for background elements, which creates a gentle and nurturing atmosphere. To inject a sense of hope and growth, add a touch of light green or mint green as an accent color. Now this color can be used for call to actions or to highlight important information, symbolizing the potential for renewal and positive change. However, here's the complete flip side to all of this. Now, you might actually have determined in the brief that this audience of the website are young teenagers in regard to mental health, and in which case, you might want to increase the saturation away from pastel colors and use things like bright bold orange as a base color, which will trigger a sense of action and change, which helps with positivity and hope. Now you want to think about how emotion reflects on the audience and then choose color palettes in relation to that. And that is the Color Analogies method, but here are 2 very crucial bonus tips. Share your design with colleagues, clients, or target audience members to gather some feedback. Their perspectives can help you refine and enhance the color palette. Always keep in mind the accessibility of your design, especially if it's intended for digital platforms. Make sure the text remains legible and the color choices adhere to accessibility standards. Method number 2 really works well on rebranding or branding projects, but we can of course translate these skills over to different projects as well. Now for this example, let's say we're tasked with branding a sustainable fashion label. The concept of the brand is centered around nature, sustainability, and the idea of harmony between fashion and the environment. We can start by analyzing the brand's current color palette, if it's a rebrand that is, and understanding the values and the principles it represents. If it's not a branding project you're working on, then you can look at your competition in a similar niche and apply things from there. Sustainable clothing brands often emphasize eco-friendliness, organic materials, and ethical practices. Consider how these values are reflected in the existing colors. When looking at existing colors in relation to the brand or the niche, you need to ask yourself a few very important questions. Assess which aspects of the existing color palette might need adaptation. Are there any colors that are no longer aligned with sustainability, or do some colors just feel outdated or not in line with the current design brand? Do you want the design to align with the niche, or do you want to stand out from the crowd, so to speak? For this project, we will consider how the new color aligns with the environmental associations. Colors such as natural greens, earthy browns, and calming blues often resonate with eco-friendliness and eco-consciousness. But do you actually want to go along with that? We could, and that would be totally fine. But you might determine that the sustainable niche is really oversaturated, and so you might want to steer away from the conventional color schemes. This is exactly where advanced designers make crucial decisions and then lower tier or even AI designers fall short. Instead of the pastel earthy tones that we see pretty much everywhere in this niche, we might opt for a sunset orange as the base color. This vibrant warm color symbolizes energy and change, which leads onto representing the brand's innovative and forward-thinking approach. We could then complement that with ocean blue, and that's a deep blue that evokes the vastness of the ocean and reflects a sense of responsibility towards protecting the environment. That can be accented with either black or white depending. And as you can see, this color combination would stand out from the crowd in this niche, but it also still fits into the niche at the same time, if assembled and executed properly into the branding project, of course. Now here's a very good tip in regard to rebranding in this color combination method. Gather feedback from the client and the target audience. Ensure that the adapted colors resonate with the intended audience and effectively convey the desired message. Color combination method number 3 does get really quite advanced, so let's take a look. This is called synesthesia inspired color selection, and it's a creative and an unconventional approach to choosing color combinations in graphic design. This color method actually attributes or associates colors to sensory experience, and that creates an emotionally relatable and effective design. For this one, let's design materials for a jazz music festival. We first want to get a vibe and a feel for jazz music, so research and understand what is associated with jazz in terms of color. For example, jazz might be linked to deep blues and cool purples because they're kind of peaceful and relaxed, while the excitement of a jazz solo might evoke a vibrant red or a fiery orange. Now this next step does dive deeply into the senses, and so as a designer yourself, you want to close your eyes and listen to the jazz music. Think about what kind of colors spring to mind when you listen to the music itself. Perhaps a cool blue represents the smooth melodies, while the energetic reds mirror the improvisational solos as previously mentioned. This method for coming up with color combinations does require the designer is really tapped into the niche and the project, be it food related, whatever it is, or music in this example. But in this jazz example, we want to write down a code or a language in regard to color, and that might look something like this. Once you have that language, you can begin to consider other aspects such as emotion, audience, and context. Start to build a color palette for your project, and you may want to base this around a base color by adding complementary colors from your associations. For instance, you can use fiery reds and oranges as accent colors, and they will represent the excitement and spontaneity of jazz solos. Also, maybe experiment with different shades and tones of these colors to create harmonious palettes. But do ensure the colors create a visual connection to the emotions and unique experience of jazz. The main bonus tip for this method is documentation. Keep a record of the associations you've made between sensory experiences and colors. This can serve as a reference for your project, but also future projects. Now that you've chosen some color palettes, what about actually designing something? Well, you can learn some really cool tips with that via the video on screen. And until next time guys, design your future today. Peace.